Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have kids, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm here. It's our RPG Design Tuesday. Tuesday, we work on RPG design. We're going to be working on Faded Edge. If you're new here, I'm going to talk a little bit about what that is. But based on our exploration of Pathfinder and the use of the OGL and all of that, I thought that a really good topic to look at today would be to take a look at how you would even use the Pathfinder, OGL, and SRD in order to help create your games. Because, hey, there may be some stuff in here, and I think there is, that will help create Faded Edge and maybe another game I want to do. So I thought we would all take a look at it. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. Let's see. Desist Dawdling is here. Welcome. Theo is here. Welcome. Klaus Keller is here. Inner Light is here. Good morning. Doing world building. Do world building. We do world building on Wednesdays. I need to work on some world building for tomorrow. Stray is here. Stray, hello. BGD. I got Starman coming in from England. Hello, GM's Alcove. Man, so many people here. Vision is here. And Zejmet. Wizard's Tower. Great, Micah. Wow, wonderful. Innerlight says, am I creating 2 RPG systems? No, I'm not. I don't want to create 2 RPG systems. I just want to create one, and one of them is well, the one that I'm creating is more narrative focused, which is Faded Edge. I just want to do one, but there may be other games to create, and an easier way to do that, or something that will make that game creation easy, is if we understand how to use the open gaming content, the open gaming license, and especially if we've got some really good rules. So we can look at Pathfinder and then also understand the status of some of the other games that we've been looking at over the past 2.5 months, and understand their status under the open gaming license, if it is under the open gaming license or some other license, and how we can use that material to speed up our own development. By the way, announcement. An important message on Discord? No, I have not been on Discord since yesterday, and I didn't even get caught up on Discord. There's an important message on Discord. Is it a private message? You want to private message me? Is something I need to look at right now? And I'll look at it. So that's what we are looking at right now. I'll go back to Discord here after this. But also remember tonight, important message. It is. Okay, I'll have to look. I'm sorry. I'll after this and get to it. Okay. But a major thing's going on. So yeah, there's too much going on, but a major thing that's going on is tonight. Tonight I'm interviewing Bob Tarantino. Bob is the author of the dissertation on the OGL. So another thing I was doing was I was coming up with a list of questions and notes for Bob's, and I was starting to type them up. If you have questions for Bob, or you want commentary on these questions, I'm not going to be able to do them all, but if there's something that I think of or I did not think of that we need to talk to Bob about, I'll put them in the OGL. I'm going to type them up, and I will put them in the OGL copyright section of the Discord, that channel or that sub-channel thread, and so we can talk about that there. I'm going to get a link together for the Bob interview soon after this so that we can start promoting it, and that's going to be at 6:30 p.m. Central Time tonight. So that's going to be a lot of fun and awesome, I think. Hopefully we get additional clarification on a bunch of things. I was also making some other videos on copyright of the OGL, because I've seen some and of the SRD, because I've seen some controversy as to whether or not the OGL is copyrighted. Actually, we'll talk about that with this here as well, about the copyright status of the Pathfinder SRD and its information. So that's all going to be coming up right here. Micah says, nice. I've been looking forward to listening to your interview of Bob Tarantino during my shift tonight, since I'll be asleep when it starts. Yep, replay will be available. Okay, I tell you what, let's breathe and sip and then go to the morning messages. I got water this morning. I'm in desperate need of some water this morning. So water right here. Get hydrated. 2 deep breaths, full out exhale, and then sip. You got your beverage? Do it with us. Got your beverage? Okay, let's go to the messages. Then we'll start talking here. The Morning Grind is brought to you by World Anvil. For all the game masters out there, World Anvil supports more than 45 systems, including D&D. Or you can create your own. It allows game masters to plan, play, and present their adventures and campaigns. Use the code MORNINGGRIND to get 40% off yearly subscriptions. The Morning Grind is also brought to you by the World of Ataltus. The Ataltus Player's Guide includes 7 new lineages that provide something new and fresh for your player characters. Check it out on ataltus.com and get it for your table. The Morning Grind is also brought to you by the Thrones and Bones Viking-inspired fantasy RPG setting. It includes 37 new creatures and monsters, including the Buttercat, a tiny feline construct made of yarn and spindles that steals milk for its master. Get the book on DriveThruRPG today. And thank you for being here with me live on the Morning Grind. And if you're watching on replay, welcome to you as well. It's great to have you here. If you're enjoying the Morning Grind, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It will really help the channel grow, and I would be very thankful. We also have the Ravenkeep Discord server you can join if you would like to be a part of the community. All right, that's what you need to know. Let's get to the main topic. Daniel asks, is Bob working on the Orc license, or what his thoughts on it? We're definitely going to talk about the Orc license. As far as I know, now this could have changed in the interim, and it seems like it would make sense for somebody to reach out to Bob on that subject. As far as I know, which I have no inside knowledge of it, but as far as like names associated with it, a few days ago, I never saw Bob's name, but we will definitely be talking about the Orc because I'm sure he is aware of it. And the Starfinder beginner box, yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but it definitely seems like something we should do. We really like Paizo's Pathfinder box. So looking at Starfinder at some point, I know nothing about Starfinder. So taking a look, unboxing, and learning how to play Starfinder is also something we should probably do. Okay, so let's look at what we were doing here. If you are new to this, Tuesdays we do RPG design, and I've always wanted to create one. So that's why I was like, well, if now is the time if I'm going to do this. And I started this about 5 weeks ago, looking at it once a week. And we had started by basically just going over the action system. So, when we've been studying all these different RPGs, we've been studying the how to play, and how to play we defined as basically their core game resolution mechanic, right? And so the reason we were doing that in part was as kind of research for different ways that people resolve actions in RPGs. And so I wanted to start with an action resolution system. I didn't want to start with character creation because my philosophy there was that, hey, if you start making an RPG with character creation, you can think, hey, what are all kinds of neat stuff we could define for a character? Let's write it all down and come up with all different kinds of neat stuff to define. But then what do you do with all of those things that you defined? Well, then later you get into the game. How do you actually do things? Hopefully, and it's an open or a unified action resolution mechanic. But even if it's not, then you decide, okay, now what do we need to do in this RPG and how are we going to do them? That may or may not end up connecting to what you wrote down as all of your stats, right? So you don't want things that then they're on your sheet that all of a sudden really aren't connected to things or not strongly tied to things. At least I don't. So the philosophy there for me was to say, how do we resolve actions in an RPG? How do we want to do that? And then we kind of back propagate to then look at the way the character should be designed in order to support that action resolution system, and and what kind of stats do we need. So that's why we were doing that. But now I think it's time to kind of back out here a little bit, especially in light of Pathfinder and other games that we like, and really understand the OGL and in relation to the SRD and how it can help us. Because we were saying with Ryan was saying, well, you can kind of think of the OP, he may not. We were using this metaphor when we were talking. We were using the metaphor of a forest that the OGL is allowing to spring up, and the OGL forest, right? And one of the major trees, the licenses have value because of what they're attached to. So the major tree in the forest was the Dungeons and Dragons SRD. But actually, there was the 3.0 SRD that you can still use. You can still use all the 3.0 stuff. You can still use all the 3.5 stuff. And then another big tree is the 5th edition stuff. But now another big tree is Pathfinder. So a very important thing to understand, because we've been enjoying the Pathfinder rules. I was really enjoying the 2nd edition Pathfinder rules. Is that can we use them? Can we use them? Because they're different from the 5th edition rules. And that answer is yes. So first of all, let's find out its status, and let's take a look at the status of some of the other games as well. Because the Open Gaming License is published right here in the back of the Pathfinder core rulebook. And there's a lot of core rulebook stuff. So we don't have to, we're not going to read the Open Gaming License. But such an important part of this is saying that there are two parts of things that's inside this book. There's the open gaming content, that Pathfinder, or that Paizo, when it created Pathfinder, is giving to the world and allows anybody to use. And then also there's product identity in here that Pathfinder, or that Paizo is reserving for itself and that you cannot use. And we're making those two different distinctions. So they are very, very generous. So they put the license in here. And remember, they said in their orc announcement, why is this license in here in the back? Well, supposedly, nothing in here actually copies the Dungeons & Dragons SRD. Nothing in here is a copy of the Dungeons & Dragons SRD. You do need to use the open gaming license if you quote verbatim out of the SRD. And that would be the Dungeons & Dragons SRD. That would be a very handy thing to do if you are trying to get a role-playing game off the ground fast, like Paizo was doing that with first edition. But they say they excised all of the 5th edition SRD stuff from this book. It's all started completely new. So this is a whole new tree in the forest, a whole new rule set that has the open gaming license in it and defines what is open gaming content and what is product identity. So that's the important part here. So let's see what it says. It says, this is very small text though in the back of the book. It says that product identity, and product identity is what you cannot use. Product identity is what you cannot use. The following items are hereby identified as product identity as defined in the Open Gaming License 1.0a, Section 1e, and are not open game content. Oh, Section 1e of the SRD, of the OGL, and are not open game content. So anything that is product identity is not open game content. All trademarks, registered trademarks, proper nouns, that's characters, deities, locations, etc., as well as all adjectives, names, titles, and descriptive terms derived from proper names. Chapter 8, with the exception of public domain. So I said Chapter 8 is product identity. What is Chapter 8? Well, it turns out Chapter 8, when I flip to that, this is the chapter, The Age of Lost Omens. So this is, it's either part of the world book or it's an adventure. I'm not exactly sure which, but the Age of Lost Omens, it looks like it's defining a campaign setting. You've got lands and stuff here. I'm not sure if there is actually a adventure in here or not, but it looks like it's defining your campaign setting. So that's why Chapter 8 is out there. It says, so Chapter 8 is product identity, with the exception of public domain, but then also all the artworks, characters, dialogue, locations, organizations, plots, storylines, and trade dress. Elements that have previously been designated as open game content are exclusively derived from previous game content, or in the public domain are not included in this declaration. So there we go. That's basically what we would expect too. I mean, that's what we would expect. That's completely been our understanding of the division between product identity and open content under the SRD. So that's a very standard. I mean, that's exactly what we would expect to see. So then what do they say with, they have this thing on exclusive tools, or no, external tools as well. They say that Lines and Veils were originally published for Sea and Sorcery by Ron Edwards, which I don't know exactly what that is. The X card by John. These are things that must be coming on. I've heard of the X card. So the X card by John Stavropoulos is published under the Commons license. They are used here with permission and are not open gaming content released under the Open Game license. Oh, because that was released under a Creative Commons license. Got it. So it also provides that declaration as well. But then what does it say? It says this, and this is an important, very important thing for the gaming community. Open game content, except for material designated as product identity above, or external tools, see above, the game mechanics of this Paizo game product are open game content as defined by the Open Game License version 1.0a, section 1d. No portion of this work other than the material designated as open game content may be reproduced in any form without written permission. But very generously, I mean, what does that mean? That everything else that is not their product identity which is a huge part of this book. This is all of their game mechanics, everything else that's not their product identity, or I suppose in those special cases, external things that were published with some additional permission. We can use. We can just pick right up, and we can use that under the terms of the Open Gaming License. And that has nothing at all to do with Wizards of the Coast. Nothing at all to do with the Wizards of the Coast. There is one other thing we should point out, and then I'm going to go to the comments. But this does say in here that you are not allowed to use. So what does this have to do? Does this say that you are not allowed to use Pathfinders, well, like trademarks and stuff, right? So one of the things we know about the Open Gaming License is that it is a little bit more restrictive with regard to the use of the Dungeons and Dragons trademark, right, than it would be otherwise if you were not publishing under the Open Gaming License. But the advantage of that is that you're able to quote from the SRD. I've got a video coming out specifically on this copyright status because there is confusion on that. The SRD is absolutely copyrightable. The SRD is absolutely copyrightable. But that doesn't necessarily apply to Pathfinder. That doesn't apply to Pathfinder. So, and I do want to point out with regard to the copyright section, then I'll go to the comments. Okay, so it's open game content. Does that mean that it's not copyrighted? No. And in fact, it has to be copyrighted. It has to be what your license is licensing has to be a copyrightable and copyrighted object. So where's our copyright notice in the core rulebook? Game designers. Oh, I'm not exactly sure where the copyright notice is in here. I'm sure it's in here, though. Let me see if it is in the back. Oh, yes, right here. So it is telling you specifically that this core rulebook is copyright by Paizo. Here is the statement right here. Pathfinder Core Rulebook, 2nd edition, copyright 2019 by Paizo, Inc. This book is their copyright, but some of it is open game content, which you are absolutely welcome to use, and we may want to use here for Fated Edge with no problem. As long as we use the Open Gaming License, we can access this completely legally. So this book is copyrighted, absolutely copyrighted by Paizo, but some of it is open game content. That part of that book is still copyrighted, but we can access it freely. All right, let's go over here. Micah says, for me, a huge part was deciding what pillars of play should exist and how they can be emphasized with the same collection of stats and attributes. That's why my system uses 3 semi-vague for each. So I'm at game design there. Well, Watsy is out there trying to cut down the forest. Trying. Micah says, they're trying, but many of us are working to ensure their part of the forest is separated so enough that they can't get close enough to making the first swing. But now this is also important because I made a mistake in one of my videos, and I deleted that section of the videos and then clarified the position on the forward propagation of material under the OGL. Because I completely believe that what has been planted cannot be taken back. That the horses have left the barn, as people have been saying already, and they're trying to close the gate, and they're already gone. The trees that have already been planted by the 3.0 by the OGL with regard to the 3.0 SRD, the 3.5 SRD, and the 5.0 SRD, they are still growing. They cannot be chopped down or taken back. I do not believe. It's not something that happened. Vision says, I like the idea of Paizo and Kobold Press going out there planting their own trees. And yeah, and lots of other people have. So yes, that's the World Guide. That's what I thought. That was the World Guide section. So the World Guide section is not open game content. You can't make something in Paizo's world. Can't do that. Okay, so yes, Mike is saying Pathfinder has its own SRD equivalent, and we were looking at that. I just barely was able to start looking at that yesterday, but I'm going to bring that up before we go to another game. Because, yeah, we could definitely go through here and find out what is open game content, but this should be the archives of Nethys. Let me bring this up. This should be it, right? right here. So let's see. So this is like, what does this tell us about, and exactly to get confirmation about what this is? But this is where people were sending us to yesterday, that if you want the Pathfinder rules, we should be able to get it right here. We do have Pathfinder First Edition. So Pathfinder First Edition is still a tree growing in this forest. So if you want to, if you like First Edition Pathfinder, which I never played, but if you like, we're going on with Second Edition here. But if you like that, that is still a tree growing in the forest. And then, yeah, I think we definitely should check out Starfinder sometime. I don't do a lot of sci-fi gaming, but Starfinder might be an interesting one to get into. But let's see, licenses. So this website is licensed under the Open Gaming license. Oh, there's a lot of stuff out here on this website, it looks like. Okay. So if I go over here to Pathfinder Second Edition, don't accidentally get into new to Pathfinder Second Edition. Here is, let's see, what we got, like feats. All feats. Like, what if we need to use feats? So these feats are available under the Open Gaming license. Otherwise, like adaptive vision. So here is adaptive vision. We were looking at tags right here. Oh, this is, oh, it's telling you. Oh, so this is from Guns and Gears, page 200. Okay, so that's why there was apparently a lot of stuff on that license, because this is all of the open game content that's published for Pathfinder, I'm believing, if I'm understanding that right. So Guns and Gears, page 200 is where this comes from. Where does this take me? Guns and Gears. So that's implying to me then that Guns and Gears, I don't know anything about that book, but that book must also have open game content in it. And it just so happens that this feat comes from there. And so here is the text for that. After years of using black powder weaponry in dimly lit spaces, you become accustomed to dazzling flashes of light and sudden shifts of illumination. You gain +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against visual effects. If you roll a success on a saving throw against a visual effect, you get a critical success instead. Guitar Guy Nick says, I would wait until the orc. So you could wait until the orc, because it sounds like then what will happen is that Pathfinder will then republish Pathfinder material under the orc. But in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with the OGL, and that continues to be the position of the even Paizo's position, because Paizo said that it will go to court, is prepared to defend the status of the OGL in court. And it seems like every other publisher and every other person, game publisher in the industry, still understands the OGL exactly the way that it is intended to be understood. The only person who seemed to think otherwise was Wizards of the Coast, according to this link. But they have not done anything yet. They have not done anything yet. Okay, so why is this important? It's because if we needed to use this, we could copy this expression, because this is an expression of the adaptive vision feat. This is an expression of it. It absolutely is. This particular text right here is the expression of that feat. But if we wanted to use that, if I wanted to use that in Fated Edge, I don't, but if I needed to use that one, I could copy this right here and I could put it in the Fated Edge rulebook, and that would be no problem as long as I publish it under the terms of the OGL, which does mean putting the OGL in the back. I could completely do that. Innerlight says, the only thing I don't like about Paizo anymore is they got rid of slavery due to their politics. So no more fighting against evil slavers or helping slaves escape. But we could do, I have no idea what's in their material anymore with that. I don't know anything about that. But hey, if you want to fight against evil slavers in your stuff, you can completely make that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm looking at first edition. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, be careful what you're looking at, I suppose. But the point remaining here, the Archives of Nethris. Let's see if I want to be. I do want to be sure I'm in second edition, Pathfinder second edition. But at any rate, that's how this should work. I'm particularly interested in the conditions, right? I love conditions. New to Pathfinder second edition, click here. Traits, modes of play. So where are conditions? Creatures, you would think that conditions would be, because they've got tons of conditions. Conditions. I'm actually wondering about that little symbol. What's the status of that little symbol? So here are the conditions, core rulebook, groups of conditions. So they've organized all these conditions very well. They have their canonical description here. They understand how they interact. We can use these. Now, we can also say, hey, if we like the description and how they interact, but they're going to do something a bit different in Fated Edge, well, then I can change up the text and make them do something a little bit different in Fated Edge. That's no problem either. I can start with this and not have to worry about it. So why is that important anyway? Why we have this canonical expression. So that's what the SRD is, this canonical expression. And Ryan Dancy was talking about that as far as game design goes, because this is, I think, so important to understand. He was saying that it's good game design so that anytime you encounter any particular rule, it is expressed and written in the exact same way. And he was talking about how they really got serious about that with Magic the Gathering. Because if you have this rule, this mechanic, this process that's abstract, and then you're going to express it in a sentence or 2 sentences or 3 paragraphs, all right, here is your description of that. The next time the players encounter those rules, you do not want, or that mechanic, you do not want it to be expressed in a different way than it was expressed previously. Because if you say, hey, some character, some player is going to say, oh, well, I'm reading how to do this right over here, and it says this. And then somebody's going to go to this part of the rule book or another book or whatever else and go, oh, no, wait a minute. I'm also reading about the, broken condition, and it says this over here. Well, is it trying to express the same game mechanic? It might very well be. But if they're both trying to express the same game mechanic, why don't you just put the same expression in both places? And that way there's no confusion over whether or not these two things are trying to say the same thing. So within a certain publishing company, what you do is you want to be sure. He called this templating. Make sure that all of your, anytime you would have to write down a rule, it is expressed in exactly the same way. The SRD, and what we're looking at right here for Pathfinder, is the canonical explanation, the canonical expression, for instance, of how to use or what effect the blinded condition has. So now that means that if I want to use this, we're now even templating across publishers. Another publisher can now step in and can use exactly this text to describe the blinded condition, right? That way, otherwise, every publisher would have to come up with their own unique expression of those mechanics, and the interoperability of our rule systems would be at least severely hampered, right? So that's why when everybody says the game mechanics can't be copyrighted. So if you've got some game mechanics that you want to use, you could completely put those game mechanics in your own words, completely write up a new expression of how to do that. Kind of like, we're talking about plagiarism and copyright from, academics and writing academic stories. You got to put things in your own words. So that would mean if there were 10 different publishers that all wanted to use blinded, but there was no open gaming license in the SRD, then every one of those publishers would have to have a different description of how to do the exact same thing, the blinded condition. No. The genius of the open gaming license and the open gaming philosophy in general is that this description, this expression will be open for everybody to use to keep our games consistent. That's the value right there. Good morning, everybody. MJ Johnny says, hello there. I've been a day one Pathfinder 2 GM. Hope to see more attention to this fabulous community and the game system. Guitar Guy Nick says, everything that's mechanical is in the SRD and usable. Exactly. That's what is very generously released under the open game system by Paizo. So this says that AON, that's the website we're looking at, Daniel says, has a partnership with Paizo to show some of the copyright stuff. all the deities, but so they do have a partnership with them to show some of the copyrighted stuff. Okay, so just because it's on this website does not mean that it is open game content. Thank you. The deities, but most of that lore is not on this page. Okay, so glad we're getting clarification there. Glad we're getting clarification there. So it's not quite an SRD. We still, yeah, if you see proper nouns, then okay, so that makes it a little bit trickier, but almost. So almost. Okay, let me go over here to. Oh, I'm sorry. There are some DMs that I need to accept. Okay, hang on, Vision. Let me look right here. I'm sorry. I hadn't hit the accept button on some messages. So, okay, so some people may be trying to get in touch with me that I didn't realize. Okay. Okay, I won't publicly say that, but thank you. Sorry, I didn't realize. If you were waiting on a DM from me, I didn't realize I hadn't accepted it. So, I'll look at that after the stream. Anybody else who has tried to DM me, sorry about that. Okay, so that's important. That has to do with this is not quite an SRD. Okay, so what does that mean? So now we know that, because I like all these conditions, and because I love the conditions, I love the traits. Hey, why not use those? Now I've got to adjust how they mechanically function, but I can use the description of them. I can use exactly what they are, and then I can use exactly what they are, and then I can manipulate them however I want. So I thought it would also be a good idea to say, hey, what is the status of some of the other games that we want to look at? So let's bring up for just a second, what games did we really like? Let's understand how to use them, how we can use them for our games. So we do like Black Hack. I've thought a lot about Black Hack ever since we used Black Hack on here. So let's see. I'm going to bring it up because I believe Black Hack has done the same thing. So you can see the philosophy by which we're kind of organized here. Here's Black Hack. I wish Hackmaster were, but let's go under here. Look, right here for Black Hack. This game has been published under the Open Gaming License 1.0A. So here we have it in the back. So what material in here? There should be a declaration of material. Oh, right here. Oh, very simple, right here. The name of the Black Hack, the Black Hack, and all artwork, logos, and layout are product identity. Designation of open game content. All text and tables are open game content. Cool. There was some stuff that we liked about Black Hack. So that means that I can take the rules from Black Hack. Anybody can. Anybody can. Not their name, not their look, and not their trade dress and layout style. But we can definitely, if there were things that we liked about, for instance, the usage dice. Some people like the usage dice. I'm not completely sold on usage dice. I could be. It could be right for certain things. But for instance, if you really like the usage dice, you can use the usage dice in here exactly as it is expressed, and use that rule for your game. The armor dice and breaking. We really liked armor dice and breaking in this game. So that might be something that's ported over, and that's completely legal under the Open Gaming Licenses. No problem. Don't have to go and talk to them for additional permission or anything like that. I also want to know what is the status of Easy D6 and 5 Torches Deep? 5 Torches Deep seems like it should be. See, this is also additional reasons why the idea that, oh, it'll just deauthorize the OGL. What does that even mean? These people have published under it and with the intention that their rules are open game content. And it is. So let's see. This is an old school, like part of the old school Renaissance. Let's see. Well, I do not see the OGL in here. Open gaming. Okay, I do not see anything about the open gaming an open gaming content here with the OGL. So maybe this one. So this one's not. So if you had like something from this, like you would have to write a completely new expression of those rules. There was something about supply that we liked in here. Might not be right for all things, but there were some ideas in here that I remember liking. So, but if we were to use something like that, we would have to completely come up with a new expression of those rules. What about index card? Unless there's, well, no, that declaration would have to be inside that book. Index card RPG. Well, I'm not sure where my index card game book is. What if I just look up ICRPG? Okay, I'll have to look up that one. Let me go to the comments, see what people are saying. Good morning, everybody. I see more people coming in. Good morning. Oh, we have 63 people here. Good morning, good morning. Right, that symbol is one action, but I'm wondering what its status is with regard to the OGL. If you're making a Pathfinder compatible game, can you use that symbol? Or do you have to come up with something else? Well, Tanner Emerson says the first sentence is usually fluff, but mechanics are usually second. Right. So, but you could use the fluff rather than having to rewrite the fluff. And that way everybody knows that, okay, this is what this is. And then if you've got a slightly different mechanic for your game, because your game uses a different mechanic, you can use this, this condition, this fluff sentence, and then your sentence can go about how it works. And then also that tree, because a higher Pathfinder seems to have that hierarchy of the different ways that all of the conditions interact with each other. You can just import that. I have no idea. Seems like Paizo might give us one. Or wasn't there something with MT Magic the Gathering tap mechanic that can't be the name the same thing in other card games? Right. That is exactly. I believe my understanding is that that's exactly it. For instance, that tapping something is not something that you can do. That's product identity in another game. But if you want to have a situation where you take a card and you rotate it 90 degrees, and now the card has a different effect in the game, that's a game mechanic. So you would have to, which you're perfectly fine to have in your game. You just have to write up a completely new expression to describe turning the card 90 degrees, right? Because you can't use the word tap the card. That's my understanding. But you can write up a completely new mechanic. That doesn't stop you from having the ability to turn a card 90 degrees. So that's why in other games we see cards have to be used or cards have to be exhausted or things like that. Yeah, so the whole of Magic the Gathering's mechanics were patented, but that patent has lapsed. Tapping was trademarked and still is. You can do the same thing, but you need a different term. Yeah, they're a bit abstract for me too, even for Faded Edge, but it might be perfect for somebody else, and they are available. Okay, so does anybody have the index card RPG? I was looking at, if I look over here to index card RPG, I've obviously got it because we looked at it. But let's see here. But there is this right here, just so we understand some of the status of these different games that we seem to really like. So I noticed there is this right here that says you can use, he's got this label here for use with the index card RPG, but I'm not sure. Index card SRD. Oh, here's some questions. So is it Creative Commons? Is there officially allowed resources? Why can't I find my index card RPG PDF? Wait, I think I just found it. I just found it. Okay, so let's take a look and see what the status of this is. Okay, perfect. Thank you. BGD says, following up on Theo's comment, drop the link for Runehammer Games IC RPG third-party content creation regulations into the other RPG of the Discord server. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. But let's bring this up. Other RPG. That might be, is that where we... okay, yes. Okay, so that's where we were. Okay, so let's bring this down, but I've got the book up. So let's actually see what is in the book. So share screen, index card, RPG, right here. This is a really fun one. Everybody around here seems to really like this one. If you are new and you haven't heard of it, this was also a great stream when we went over the index card RPG. So let's see what its status is. And see, this is the index card RPG Master Edition free core rules update. Oh wait, free core rules update. Okay, I guess this is the whole thing. But let's see if we got what type of license information we have in the back, if any. I don't see it in the back. Okay, ICRPG. Oh, it's not up. Here we are. ICRPG is protected by and open for use under the Creative Commons License 4.0. Details can be found online on the Runehammer forums. Font used with licenses. So this is Creative Commons License 4.0. So we got to go back to that. I didn't see a whole lot of information here. Let's see. Creative Commons. Let's just look up Creative Commons. If it's Creative Commons and we wanted to use that, there's not a whole lot of info here, but we do have index card RPG, copyright Runehammer Games 2018, written consent provided to create content for ICRPG from email address. So what is our Creative Commons 4.0? That's one of the issues that we've had. So this is Creative Commons 4.0, is that there are a bunch of Creative Commons licenses. And some of them we said could be absolutely perfect for licensing RPGs under. But the issue is you have to figure out which one is actually applying and figure out exactly which one applies, because there are some very restrictive Creative Commons licenses and there are some extremely permissive Creative Commons licenses. Ryan Dancy was talking about that. So this is, according to my understanding then, Creative Commons License 4.0. This is CC by 4.0. I assume that I'm in the right place. I'm assuming that I'm in the right place. So it says this is a human readable summary and is not a substitute for the license. You are free to share, copy, and redistribute the material in any medium or format, adapt, remix, transform, and build upon the material for any purpose, even commercially, but we must give attribution. Attribution. You must give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and indicate if changes were made. You may do so in any reasonable manner, but not in any way suggest that the licensor endorses you or your use. No additional restrictions. You may not apply legal terms or technological message that legally restrict others from doing anything the license permits. I believe this is the same one that Fate is under. Fate RPG license. Because Fate, you can license by both. Licensing Fate, because Fate is a great example of being published under two different licenses. So you have two different options with Fate. You may use Creative Commons CC by. Let's see if that goes. Well, no. See, that's Creative Commons unported CC by 3.0. So I hope I was in the right place over here. This is CC by 4.0. So we can already see why the Creative Commons license is a little bit not quite as clear, because we got to make sure we're on the right version. The OGL, which was part of its genius, was intended to be the universal license for all of this. So everybody who understands the OGL, if there's the OGL, you know exactly what it does. I'm a little bit less clear on like what the difference between CC by 4.0 and this is the 3.0 unported CC by 3.0. That would require a little bit more time. But licensing Fate, if you feel more comfortable with that, you've got CC by right here. You can license Fate using that, or you can use the Open Gaming license to publish under Fate as well, because it's popular and well known in gaming circles. So you can license Fate under the Open Gaming license. So and they even have Powered by Fate down here. So that means if we wanted to remix this, if we wanted to remix Index Card RPG, we could remix Index Card RPG under the Creative Commons 4.0 license. And Pathfinder, Paizo, has actually given us a template for what it is that we would need to put in a book in order to do that. So, for instance, because it says here with product identity, okay, we understand what product identity is because of the OGL, and we understand what open gaming content is under the OGL. But we also have this phraseology here, the external tools. So lines and veils were originally published in Sex and Sorcery by Ron Edwards in 2003. Okay, so that must be, it says that we have permission to use that. So that was something that came in not under an open license, but that they got permission to use. So they're declaring it right there. But then they say the X card by John Stavropoulos, hopefully I'm saying that right, and we got a URL here, is published under a Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 3.0 unported CCC by 3.0 license. That looks like exactly the license we were looking at right here with Fate. So that's a lot to say, but they had to say that explicitly under external tools. So now we have kind of a format. So if we wanted to use Index Card, I suppose we would also have to have this section because we must give attribution. So we would say, I think, as far as my best of my understanding is, that we would say if we had some Index Card stuff that we wanted to use, perfectly happy to do that. But then I would also put external tools under here and say Index Card RPG published by, and give all of that the credit that's required, has been published under the Creative Commons license 4.0 CCC by license. And, you know, this is therefore used by permission. But that it's not open gaming content, because you cannot license that. You cannot access that under the Open Gaming license, but you can access it under a Creative Commons license. And so you can see, if we have a whole bunch of these licenses, why having to stack all of that up in the back of our books begins to get unwieldy, and why it would be so nice. Again, now that, you know, as I continue to go, the genius of this idea of the OGL and what it was doing and what I think it continues to do is so great for the gaming community. No. Okay, this is not. See, the book says Creative Commons 4, but not which of the CC4 licenses. Yeah, see, that's why this is a little bit more complicated, and why the OGL was simple. No, okay, so Alan, so this is my understanding of this. Okay, because I think this is important, and I was doing a section of videos on this. The copyright and the WotC SRD, because this is the game design. Tuesday we do game designs, but I think this is really important to understand how we use it and what happens, like how to use it in our game design. Because if we got stuff and it's open gaming content, we can use it, and that makes us much more powerful. And as long as we understand how to use it, and we can do a lot more stuff faster. So Alan says about copyright and the WotC SRD, the art is copyrighted. The font may be copyrighted. When the expression, what the expression is the mechanics, when the expression is the mechanics that's not copyright. No, an expression of mechanics, according to all of my understanding here, is absolutely copyrightable. It's absolutely copyrightable to copyright an expression of mechanics. Let me bring up the SRD. This is what I was working on a video last night. I haven't finished editing it yet and uploading it, but I will. And I want to talk specifically to Bob about this tonight, because I do want to make sure that we are crystal clear on this and understand the status of this. Because Bob, in his dissertation, specifically told us that in order for an open license to be valid, what it's licensing must be copyrightable, right? Must be. He says that in his dissertation for his definition of open game content, right? So if the SRD is not copyrightable, you wouldn't need the OGL anyway. It absolutely is. Let me bring this up because let's definitely here in the last here we definitely need to look at the status of the SRD. Let me bring this up. Now I could be wrong. I can completely be wrong about this. So let me know if you have a different opinion. That's absolutely fine. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I have made a mistake. And we're going to talk to Bob. This is on the list of things to talk to Bob. But the SRD is absolutely copyrightable. It seems to me. This right here is the SRD. So let's say you want to use Dungeons and Dragons SRD material. No problem, right? So this right here is the SRD for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which means if you find something in here, the canonical expression of illusory script, if you need illusory script, you can use this canonical expression of this. This is the expression of how illusory script works, right? If you and I just sat down at the gaming table and said, hey, let's come up with a new spell. And we just had our some note cards out, some dice, and you and I were just talking back and forth, and we came up with illusory script. And we said, hey, that's how we're going to cast, that's this new spell we got. And then I go home at night and I type up exactly this right here. Is what I typed up right there copyrightable? It seems like absolutely yes, because this right here is an expression of how to cast illusory script and the effect that it has. When we were sitting there discussing illusory script, that is the mechanic. That mechanic is abstract. It's in our heads. You and I talked about it, but there's no expression of that yet. So if I go home and I type up illusory script here, can then you sue me for copyright breach because I typed up this expression of the game mechanic that you and I developed? No. It seems to be no. And that's the example with the accounting example and stuff like that that's in the dissertation and stuff like that. If I type up illusory script and I copyright it, you have no grounds to sue me because I have written an expression of the game mechanic illusory script. You are welcome to also go home and write up a completely different expression of how to cast illusory script. This is my understanding. You're welcome to do that. You would not be violating my copyright. I would not be violating yours. We would have two completely different expressions of how to of expressing these this abstract game mechanic, right? So that means that I can't sue you for copyright violation. You can't sue me for copyright violation because you and I have both written completely different words on this game mechanic. What's not allowed is if I went home and I wrote up illusory script, somebody else can't sneak into my home, copy everything verbatim for illusory script, and then put it out over here and publish it, because that would be a violation of copyright, because now you're publishing the exact expression. But here again, here's the genius of the SRD. This is the canonical explanation of how to cast illusory script. Why should we all have to write a whole bunch of different expressions for how to cast illusory script? We don't. This is the canonical expression of illusory script. We want to keep illusory script consistent across all games and all publishers. Its expression. So this is copyrightable, but it's available under an open license. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm copying it. Can I not do that? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can absolutely copy it and make sure that the expression, when somebody encounters illusory script in your game, it is exactly the same canonically expressed as it is in Dungeons and Dragons. Let's take a look right here at the legal information of the SRD. So it says, permission to copy, modify, and distribute the files collectively known as the System Reference Document 5.1 SRD 5 is granted solely through the use of the Open Gaming License. Okay, but this material is being released using the Open Gaming License version 1.0A, and you should read and understand the terms of that license before using this material. Right? So that the 1.0A. So here's 1.0A. You know, we've never actually done a read through of the Open Gaming License. Should we do that? It's not that long. Not now, but maybe on another stream. Section 15 of the Open Gaming License first gives you the copyright of the license itself. Open Gaming License version 1.0A, copyright 2000, Wizards of the Coast LLC. So Wizards of the Coast owns the copyright and holds the copyright to the Open Gaming License version 1.0A itself. And we talked with Bob about why that is so important. All right, we talked with Bob about why that's so important, because he did not want there to be other people to be able to copy exactly this text, make some small change, and then say, hey, it's a new Open Gaming License. Because then you would have a proliferation of Open Gaming Licenses, like we have a proliferation of Creative Commons licenses. And we've got some confusion, as we just saw, about exactly what Creative Commons license we're licensed under and what that means. Okay, so that's a problem over there on the Creative Commons license side. It's no problem with a specific license. You know, it may be the perfect license for you, but that's a problem when you're trying to figure out, now, what exactly am I allowed to do with this material? So in order to nip that problem in the bud, Ryan made this copyright Wizards of the Coast. Now, that's why we have this also one canonical version of 1.0A. But then also, very significant for what we were just talking about right here, the System Reference Document 5.1 is copyright. The System Reference Document is copyright. It absolutely is. And you're affirming that in the license. System Reference Document 5.01, copyright 2016, Wizards of the Coast Incorporated. It also gives the authors right here. But System Reference Document 5.1, copyright 2016, Wizards of the Coast, Inc. And even Paizo agrees. Even Paizo agrees with that, because there is a statement right here in Paizo's book. This is Pathfinder book right here. I'm looking in the back where it's licensed. And it tells me that the System Reference Document 5.1, SRD 5, is copyright 2000 by Wizards of the Coast. So even Paizo agrees. And then it lists its authors' names as well. So even Paizo, in its book right here, agrees that the 5.1 SRD is an expression, a copyrightable expression of the Dungeons & Dragons rules, and that copyright is held by Wizards of the Coast. If you would like to use that, you're welcome to, because this material has been issued under an open license version 1.0A, and this is all in this SRD, open game content. Does that make sense? That is my understanding. Again, I could be wrong, and that's another reason that I'm going to go through the comments and see what people are saying, because I could be wrong about that, but this is a very important thing to understand, because this is the power of the Open Gaming License and what is going on, and it enables us as individual and unique individual creators to access a lot of rules material under this certain understanding. So it is not the case, as some people have been implying in my comment section, as far as the best of my understanding goes, that you could go into the SRD, the 5.0 SRD, 5.1 SRD, whatever it is, the 5th edition SRD, copy material out of that, put it in your book, and then not put the Open Game License in. That would not be allowed, because then you are violating the copyright of Wizards of the Coast, because the SRD is copyright. As long as you're using that material under the terms of the license, you're good to go. Yeah. See, there are many versions. There are more versions of Creative Commons 4, and that book doesn't state which the one that it uses. Yeah, it's confused. So there we have confusion. Thank you, Vision. I see that. Oh, hey, okay. So Runehammer. Oh, Runehammer's here. So what version? We're doing all the technical side and licensing of game design, so we understand exactly where we stand with open licenses and the Creative Commons licenses. So what if we want to use some index card RPG? If anyone here would like to do that material, what Creative Commons license do we need to reference in order to do that? And how do we found the website that had some information, but we're still a bit confused over what exactly Creative Commons license this is licensed under and how to use that. Could you please let us know? He may have already done that. Alan Animus says, the problem is there needs to be a public domain version of all SRD TTPG's engines. A Creative Commons and public domain are not the same thing. That is correct. Creative Commons licensing and public domain are not the same thing. Also, open game content released under OGL 1.0a is not the same as public domain. I've seen that go by in the comments as well. Oh, so you're saying if it's open game content, then it's the public domain. No, that's not true. It's not true. It's open game content according to the open license 1.0a. It does not make it public domain. Now, you might say that there needs to be a public domain version of all SRD material, but that I mean, you could say that that's needed, except for not all publishers are going to agree to that. They've got their rule books, even their SRDs. They want to keep copyrighted. Now, they can completely hold the copyright to their SRD, but still open license all of that and make that completely available through an open gaming license. So Inner Light. So this may be a great example here. So if you look closely at 5 Torches Deep, this is a great point, Inner Light. So if you look closely at 5 Torches Deep, it does not use any spell names or anything else from Dungeons & Dragons IP. It is similar in ways to 5e, but does not use the same terms. So, okay, so it may be the case that 5 Torches Deep is an example of a game, maybe, based on this right here. We can look at that. It may be the case that 5 Torches Deep is a game that takes the abstract mechanics, right, and then completely rewrites a new expression for them, right? A completely new expression for those mechanics. And now that is 5 Torches Deep, plus throwing in other stuff. They've got a lot of unique stuff too. But anything that would be common, like I've got to remember like how to make attacks and things like that. But let's just say as a hypothetical, making an attack was something like rolling a d20 and armor class and something very similar to Dungeons & Dragons mechanics. Mechanics are not copyrightable. Expressions of mechanics are. So if they wrote a completely new expression of how to do that, then they could create a completely new game. And it seems like, since I didn't see any kind of Creative Commons or open gaming license in there, that they're holding the copyright to that. And if you want to use that material, you would have to talk to them on an individual basis, because we didn't see a license in the back of that. So they just created something completely new. It seems like a completely new expression of some existing mechanics, some new mechanics that they've expressed in new ways, and it's completely theirs, and it's just sitting there for us to play, but not to use freely in game design. See, Micah says, there doesn't need to be a public domain version, but there does need to be a shared location for these under the same license, Something I'm hoping to encourage Orc to have or in mind. Now, okay, so now here is another question that I want to make sure that we're clear on with Bob tonight. That all of that open game content in the SRD, the 5.0 SRD, if I take that, if Orc is published tomorrow, I can publish open game content under other licenses, right? We know that we can publish open game content under updates to new licenses. To updates to existing licenses. So if there's some kind of hypothetical 1.0b and you've got open game content from 1.0a, you are welcome when you republish it to publish under 1.0b. Can you take open game content and publish it under a different license? I believe you can. So you could take all of the open game content from the SRD when Orc is released and immediately publish it under Orc. I believe that's the case. We're going to get clarification tonight. We're going to be talking to Bob tonight at 6:30. That's going to be what I've got to really prepare for after the stream. But that's one of the clarifications that I want to get. Okay, so Inner Lights, yes, there's some confusion about which CC4 was used for ICRPG. Runehammer says CC4 is ultra simple. ICRPG is even more relaxed than CC4 per se. Okay, we'll look for more stuff from Runehammer. Guitar Guy Nick says the Orc is better in that it will not be owned by anyone, so there's no liability. And that is why I was saying, is this a natural evolution of open gaming? Because that may, well, you're right. It's not owned by anybody. It's going to be owned by a law firm or somebody like the Linux Foundation or something. So somebody's going to have it. But they were saying that no one who publishes role-playing games would have it. So, but that could be an advantage. I mean, that could be a reason to use it. I mean, it does sound to be about why, you know, that one gives you some type of advantage that some other license doesn't. So it may be a reason to use it. Alan says, let me give you an example of why the SRD is copyrightable. Okay. Well, we've had lots of examples about why it is copyrightable. If 5e has beholders in it, IP, it cannot be licensed. That's correct. That is the product identity of Wizards. If it does, then it cannot be. The beholder thing is being licensed. Wait, let me say that again. Let me give you an example of why the SRD is copyrightable. My reason for the SRD being copyrightable is because it's an expression of the Dungeons and Dragons rule systems and mechanics, and expressions of mechanics are absolutely copyrightable. And as we saw, it even has the copyright notices on it. And by the way, so what I was going to say about that is it's not plausible to me that if that was true, if it were true that the SRD is not copyrightable, the industry has been looking at this for 22 years. Lawyers have been all over, this for all different game systems and all different IPs for years. Is it plausible? Is it probable that over 22 years, IP lawyers never noticed that the SRD was not copyrightable, that was not true? Unlikely, very unlikely to me that would be the case. So if 5e has beholders in it, IP, it cannot be licensed. It cannot. If it does, then it cannot be. I'm a little bit confused by what you're saying. I think what you're trying to say here is that the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons definitely has beholders in it, but the SRD does not. Well, actually, the SRD does mention the term beholder, but it doesn't have your description of beholder in there. So actually, the word beholder is in here. But look right here. Let me bring this up too, because this is important. Look right here. The following items are designated proper product identity. So that right there is telling you that within even this SRD, so even in the unofficial SRD, the official Paizo thing that was not, we've got the following terms are defined as product identity. So you can't use that. So this is telling you the Mind Flare, the Ithalid, the Umber Hulk, all of that right here, that is product identity. So this is under a copyrightable document. So let's see. Yeah, you cannot write that. But that's still true, right? The beholder thing is being licensed, but the SRD is still copyrightable. Okay, I'm going to move on. Dimrus Loner says, I thought that Mind Flayers, Intellect Devourers, and Beholders and Book of Vile Darkness cannot be licensed because they are copyright of Wizards DC. So that's what we're seeing right here. Let me, right here. The following terms are designated product identity. So if it's on this list, it is product identity. Beholder is mentioned in this book on 3 pages. Oh, right here. Oh, it is. It is. Right. Yes. Because that is product identity. Okay. Found it. Yes. The Book of Vile Darkness, Beholder. Yes. Both of those are product identity and cannot be used. Right. That's telling you that right there. So that's not part of open gaming content. So yes, exactly. Yeah, Dermis says, I see. I'm a veteran D&D, start 2nd edition, a DM and player. I have an idea for a campaign. I don't use Mind Flayers, Intellect Devourers, or Beholders. I asked that only because I have that question. But of course, this has nothing to do. I mean, of course, you know this, but that has nothing to do with what you do at your table. I mean, of course, you use your table. We're just talking about whether or not you can publish stuff out with it. So Micah says, in reference to a shared location, I meant it would be nice if people could locate any content under it in one spot to know how they can use it collectively instead of checking every book. Yes, and actually, I think that Ryan did talk about that, being that in retrospect, that was one of the flaws, if I understand what you're talking about and what he was saying correctly, is that there was no established kind of clearinghouse, repository and clearinghouse for open game content. So you kind of just have to find open game content in different books and then sort of search for it on different license websites and things like that. It sure would be nice if there was a central clearinghouse where we could go and say, now, what open game content is there? What can we use? That would be great. does not believe the SRD has Warlock. I have never noticed. Let's look that up. No, it looks like I'm under Warlock here. Maybe. Oh, just make it simple. I keep thinking I'm in it. Oh, Eldritch Invocations. That's Warlock, right? Yep, Warlock. Warlock right there. Warlock is here. We have not been discussing that. We've been trying to understand. This Tuesday is our Making an RPG Day. So, yes, I'm creating my own tabletop RPG. It was a project that I've wanted to do for a while. I started about 5 weeks ago. We stream talking about that on Tuesdays. So that's what's going on. And but today I thought it was particularly appropriate to understand the OGL and for anybody who's creating a tabletop game, how we use licensed content from other publishers. Like what can we use under what conditions? So that's what we've been looking at. So we haven't actually been getting into the mechanics of the RPG today that I was writing. We're looking at trying to understand how we use other people's open gaming content in our own stuff. Yeah, see that Inner Light says you also have to be very careful about releasing anything into the public domain, as apparently some shrewd companies know how to copyright things that are in the public domain. Even that confuses me. Well, I didn't know. Okay, that would confuse me too. But yeah, I think that for a lot of reasons, I mean, it might be the right choice. Like obviously, Ryan Dancy, I would have thought about that. Well, now wait a minute. Should I just make the Dungeons and Dragons, the canonical expression of Dungeons and Dragons rules, public domain? He must have thought about that, but he didn't. He made them available under an open license, and they don't do that with software either. I mean, in the past with software, they don't make the software into the public domain. They make it under an open license. So there must be advantages, and it seems like there are advantages to a company still holding the copyright to something, but making it available under an open license. That image of leaked business model was an old fake. Okay, well, glad. So we'll check out that. So the Warlock can be used because of the SRD, but not an Artificer. Artificer. We only have the word Artificer in the SRD once, which is Artificer's lore under a gnome trait, which does not look like the Artificer character class, if I understand correctly. So it does not appear that the Artificer character class is in here. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't put it under an open license in some other book, but at least according to the SRD that we have right here, the Artificer is not in it. And Micah says, yes, unless you make your own version or create an Artificer subclass compatible with the 5e Artificer, but not using any of the terminology for it. Okay, so if you are here, I have got to get under control here. But if you are here and you're not part of the Ravenkeep Discord server, the important thing that's going on tonight is at 6:30 p.m., which I'm just about to organize for. I'm talking to Bob Tarantino. So this is the perfect way to do this because we will be getting additional clarification from him on these points, specifically regarding publishing SRD open content under the ORC. But I've also got another list. I'm typing this up. I'm going to put that in the OGL copyright section of the Discord server. And so they can get some feedback, or if you have things that you want to clarify, or if you think that another question, we can do that. And then we'll interview Bob tonight at 6:30. I will put out an announcement on the Discord for that. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to talking to him. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. It was a great time. I look forward to seeing you all tonight. So grind on.